Hi, my name's Louise Marriott and I'm part of a team from the University of Dundee who undertook the My Data project, which looked to understand the perceptions of administrative data usage for research of people who use drugs. So why explore the views of people who use drugs? We've got a lot of evidence that the public are mostly supportive of using administrative data within research. But we thought this group might be different, and there are a few reasons for that. One is that this is a hugely stigmatized population, and that often results in distrust of the services who are collecting the data that we're interested in. So we thought that the views might be different within this population. These data might be particularly sensitive for this group. So we're talking about sort of mental health data, drug and alcohol service data, hospital admissions and so on. So it could be particularly sensitive for this population. And there's also quite a divide between the people carrying out the research as academics and the population that we're interested in. There are particular demographics involved in this population, and we have quite high levels of illiteracy as well. So there's quite a gap there between the two groups. So this is why we're particularly interested in looking at this group's views. So we aim to explore the views of using admin data in research, which are held by people who use drugs, and we wanted to create a short film with this population to explore those views. And finally, we curated a list of people who are willing to help in future research. We did this using focus groups. Firstly, we had a partnership with Restoration 5, who were absolutely tremendous. We had 2 focus groups exploring the use of admin data in research and what people's views were. So we had 12 people in the first group and 11 people in the second. And we worked with this amazing conference illustrator, Graham Ogilvie, who drew what people were talking about, and that gave that really instant feedback. We also did other sort of creative approaches as well, including a traffic light system with different types of data, talking about how people felt about the use of those different types of data in research. And our findings were quite broad. There was a huge amount of discussion, and actually people were really interested in this topic, although that wasn't always how they felt at the beginning. They didn't know a huge amount about it, but it really prompted a lot of discussion. Generally, people started with quite a limited understanding about how their data were being used in research and the processes behind data linkage. So we talked a lot about that. And overall, people were happy to share data. For some, there was a view that some data were particularly sensitive to be shared, and that differed from person to person. We talked a lot about consent and whether data should be consented, and people were quite surprised generally that they weren't consented. And there was the challenges for us were really about disaggregating the using data for research as opposed to service use. And a lot of our conversations focused around that. We also carried out 4 creative workshops, and this worked with people to create this film based on the ideas that we'd been discussing with the larger group. There were up to 6 people in each of these workshops, and we worked with an animator, Andrew Lowe, who was fantastic as well. It was very much up to the participants what went into the film, and you can see those films if you come into one of our workshops. The feedback we got from participants about taking part was fantastic. On the involvement in PPI generally, they said it was enlightening, said it just goes to show that when you get into recovery, you can do anything you put your mind to. Said you start to get involved with groups you wouldn't normally get involved with. So they really enjoyed it and really valued the experience. And the feedback on learning about admin data and how their data were used was that a lot of us didn't realise how their information was being used when it began. And that they feel a lot more informed after participating in the workshops. They had some key messages for researchers. They're really keen to know what's happening with their data and want us to tell them. There was generally a preference for telling people face to face, although we did talk about the challenges of doing that. They wanted everyone to bring pizza. They thought that was brilliant. We bought pizza every time, and we can talk more about the funding around that because the individual level funding was tricky. There are a huge number of people involved in this. This is the participants you can see along with the team in the photo. But do come along to the talk if you want to hear more. Thanks.